He'd be proud of him. Look at what he's done in the sport. He's carried the flag for his country.
Bro,
He won
you
2
every
world
second
titles.
lose your fence.
It's
Please shut up.
impossible for any man not to be proud of what this man has done.
Please shut up.
He's the best fighter on the planet.
The closer UFC 330 gets, the harder it becomes to separate confidence from reality. Machado Garry says he is ready for the moment when Islam Makhachev finally gets his hands on him. Islam, meanwhile, believes that once he closes the distance and establishes his wrestling, the fight will begin moving in the direction he wants. Both men are convinced they have identified the other's weakness. But there is one question neither fighter can answer until the cage door closes. Who will be able to force the other man to fight a style he does not want? Welcome back, everyone. If you are following this massive UFC 330 showdown, make sure you subscribe to your channel, because this fight could become one of the defining moments of both men's careers. This matchup is important because it is a direct collision between Garry's ability to remain dangerous at range and Islam's ability to turn every mistake into a grappling exchange.
He's a good fighter, but he don't have something special. I beat many strikers, and that's it. He just next opponent. That's it. He don't have something special to defend my wrestling.
He says that you have nothing special to show him on Saturday night. What do you think beating Islam would do in proving that you are a special fighter?
Beating him proves that I'm special. Everybody right here, everybody in this stadium, every single one of you fans, consider him to be the #1 pound-for-pound fighter on the planet. You consider him to be the greatest martial artist walking the earth right now. When I beat him, you'll all shut your fucking mouth and you'll call me great.
Oh, I don't know how it's gonna be, who is gonna be Rocky, but my plan to step to the cage from the first second, pressure him, take him down, broke him, and finish him there. I'm looking for the finish this fight.
Islam's better than all of them. Islam's the greatest fighter on the planet right now. Islam is going to come in there, he's going to grab a hold of me at one point, and that's the moment the fight starts. I'm excited for that point to prove my talents, my skill sets, to be able to show everybody that I can stop the grappling and bring the fight where I need it on the feet.
Talk about the GOAT, about the all numbers after my career, because
He'd be proud of him.
I'm still
Look at what he's done.
still winning, you
He'd
know,
be absolutely
my all opponent.
Sorry, champ, can I
And it's just next target, we will make my job, and after that 20 win streak, let's see what Dana say also.
Can I answer that though? He'd be proud of him. Look at what he's done in the sport. He's carried the flag for his country.
Bro,
he won
you
2
every
world
second
titles.
lose your fence.
It's
Please shut up.
impossible for any man not to be proud of what this man has done.
Please shut up.
He's the best fighter on the planet.
Garry understands that the biggest danger is not simply being taken down once. The real danger is being taken down, held there, and forced to defend continuously until his energy disappears. That is why his preparation has to be built around more than traditional takedown defense. Stopping the first shot is only the beginning. Islam Makhachev is one of the most dangerous fighters in the world when an opponent gives him a reaction. If Garry defends a single leg, Islam can transition. If Garry protects his legs, Islam can work toward the body. If Garry turns toward the fence, Islam can use the cage. If Garry tries to stand, Islam can attack again. This chain wrestling is what makes Islam so difficult to solve, and Garry knows it. His greatest weapon may therefore be his ability to refuse to accept a position. If Islam takes him down, Garry cannot become comfortable. He needs to create movement immediately. He needs an underhook. He needs to protect his hips. He needs to build back toward the fence and eventually return to his feet. That sounds simple when explained in a studio. Inside the cage, against Islam Makhachev, it becomes an exhausting physical battle. Every second spent underneath Islam costs energy. Every failed escape gives Islam another opportunity. Every scramble creates another position that the champion can attack. This is where mental strength becomes just as important as technique. Chael Sonnen's point about intent is particularly important here. The question is not simply whether Garry knows how to escape. The question is whether he will have the determination to escape every single time. Because Islam's pressure is designed to make fighters accept positions. He wants opponents to become tired. He wants them to stop scrambling. He wants them to believe that standing back up is too difficult. And once they stop fighting for the next position, Islam takes control. For Garry, that cannot happen. He must continue fighting even when the position becomes uncomfortable. That could mean spending significant portions of the fight simply trying to get back to his feet. But there is another side to the equation. Islam cannot afford to waste energy either. Garry is not a fighter who needs to chase his opponent. He can use his reach and movement to make Islam work. That means Islam must choose his attacks carefully. If he repeatedly shoots from too far away, Garry may have enough time to react. If he rushes forward recklessly, Garry can punish him with long punches and kicks. If Islam becomes predictable, Garry could begin timing the entries. That is why patience may be one of Islam's most important weapons. He does not necessarily need to take Garry down within the first 30 seconds. He can pressure him. He can force him toward the fence. He can make Garry move laterally. He can attack the legs. He can threaten the takedown without committing. And eventually, when Garry reacts to one threat, Islam can attack another. This is the kind of layered strategy that has made Islam so difficult to fight. His wrestling does not exist separately from his striking. His striking does not exist separately from his pressure. Everything connects, and that creates a problem for Garry. Even if Garry believes he can defend the takedown, he still has to defend the threat of the takedown while trying to win the striking exchanges. A striker normally wants to plant his feet and throw with confidence. Against Islam, planting your feet for too long can be dangerous. But constantly moving can also limit your own offense. That needs to remain unpredictable without becoming exhausted. He needs to use his reach without giving Islam easy opportunities to close the distance. He needs to strike without overcommitting. And most importantly, he needs to maintain enough energy to defend the wrestling in the championship rounds. This is why the opening 5 minutes could be crucial. If Garry successfully prevents Islam from establishing control early, his confidence could grow. Every defended takedown sends a message. Every successful escape tells Islam that the fight will not be easy. Every clean strike gives Garry another reason to believe that his game plan is working. But the opposite is also true. If Islam takes Garry down early and keeps him there, the psychological pressure could immediately shift. Garry may begin wondering whether his defensive preparation is enough. Islam may become more confident, and the champion could begin attacking with greater freedom. This is where the fight could become a battle of confidence. Both fighters already believe they can win. The first major exchange could determine whose belief becomes stronger. Daniel Cormier's assessment is especially relevant because he has warned against underestimating Garry. Garry's personality has made him a polarizing figure among fans, but Cormier separates that from his ability as a fighter. And that distinction matters. You do not need to like a fighter to recognize what he can do inside the cage. Garry has developed into an elite-level competitor. He has physical advantages, he has confidence, he has range, and he has spent significant time preparing for the exact type of grappling challenge Islam will bring. That makes him a legitimate threat. But Islam has something Garry has never faced at this level: the ability to combine world-class wrestling with championship composure over 5 rounds. Islam does not panic when a fight becomes difficult. He has already experienced the pressure of championship competition. He knows how to manage his energy. He knows how to stay patient, and he understands how quickly a fight can change after one successful takedown. That experience could become increasingly valuable if the fight reaches the later rounds. There is also the physical difference between the two men. Garry's height and reach provide him with obvious advantages. He can operate from farther away. He can attack with long kicks. He can use straight punches to maintain distance. And his frame can make it more difficult for Islam to control him once they enter the grappling exchanges. But size alone does not guarantee defensive success. A bigger fighter can still be controlled if his positioning is wrong. A longer fighter can still be taken down if his balance is compromised. And a powerful striker can still become ineffective when forced to fight from underneath. That is why the details will matter more than the measurements. Garry must use his size intelligently. He cannot simply be tall. He has to make Islam fight at the end of his reach. He has to make Islam enter through layers of offense. He has to use movement to prevent Islam from getting comfortable. And when Islam finally gets close, Garry has to immediately fight the hands and hips. This could make the fence one of the most important areas of the cage. Islam may attempt to use the fence to restrict Garry's movement. Garry, meanwhile, could use the fence as a platform for standing back up. That creates an unusual situation. The same cage that can help Islam control Garry can also give Garry something to push against. If Garry understands how to use that space correctly, he can make Islam work. And if he can repeatedly return to the center, the fight could become increasingly frustrating for the champion. But there is another danger for Garry. He cannot become obsessed with proving that Islam cannot take him down. Trying to win every grappling exchange can lead to unnecessary energy expenditure. Garry does not need to dominate Islam's wrestling. He simply needs to prevent Islam from turning it into sustained control. There is a huge difference. If Islam gets a takedown but Garry stands up quickly, that may be enough. If Islam shoots and Garry immediately returns to striking range, Garry has achieved his objective. The goal is not perfection. The goal is to make Islam work harder than he wants to work. That is why the fight could become extremely tactical. Islam will be looking for moments. Garry will be looking for space. Islam wants contact. Garry wants distance. Islam wants Garry's back against the fence. Garry wants the center of the cage. Islam wants Garry to react. Garry wants to remain unpredictable. And somewhere in this battle of positioning, one fighter will eventually make a mistake. That mistake could decide everything. There is also a fascinating question surrounding Islam's legacy. If Islam defeats Garry, it would add another dangerous and highly regarded opponent to his resume. It would strengthen the argument that his success is not limited to one style or one weight class environment. He would have demonstrated that he can take his championship mentality into a division filled with larger and longer fighters and continue winning. But if Garry defeats him, the consequences could be enormous. Garry would not simply become a champion. He would become the man who stopped Islam's momentum, the man who solved the wrestling, the man who defeated one of the most highly regarded fighters of this generation. And that is exactly why Garry sees this fight as the ultimate opportunity. He does not need to convince himself that Islam is unbeatable. He believes the opposite. He believes Islam is the greatest fighter on the planet right now, and that makes the opportunity even bigger. If he defeats the best, then his own greatness becomes impossible to ignore. That confidence can be dangerous, but it can also become a weakness if it causes him to take unnecessary risks. Against Islam, emotional fighting can be disastrous. Garry must remain patient. He cannot chase the finish simply because he wants to make a statement. He cannot abandon his defensive structure because he wants to prove that he can hurt Islam. He cannot spend 5 rounds trying to demonstrate that he is stronger than the champion. He needs to fight intelligently, and this is where the best version of Ian Garry could create real problems. A patient Garry, a disciplined Garry, a fighter who uses his reach, movement, timing, and defensive wrestling without wasting energy. That version of Garry could force Islam into a very different kind of fight, but the best version of Islam could be equally difficult to stop. A patient Islam, a pressure-heavy Islam, a fighter who does not rush the takedown but slowly removes Garry's space. A fighter who attacks the legs, threatens the body, changes levels, pressures the fence, and waits for Garry to react. Islam's wrestling may be the best weapon in the fight, but Garry's ability to neutralize it could be the biggest variable. Garry's striking may be the clearest path to winning rounds, but Islam's pressure could prevent him from using it consistently. The fight may ultimately come down to one simple question: who can maintain his identity when the opponent refuses to cooperate? Islam wants to make Garry a grappler. Garry wants to make Islam a striker. Whoever succeeds in forcing that transition could control the fight. And there is something else that makes this matchup fascinating. Both men are fighting for different versions of greatness. When the cage door closes, all the interviews will disappear. The predictions from Chael Sonnen, Daniel Cormier, Khabib Nurmagomedov, Demetrius Johnson, Dominic Cruz, and the other analysts will no longer matter. Islam's confidence will not matter. Garry's confidence will not matter. Only execution will matter. If Islam can consistently close the distance, secure takedowns, maintain control, and force Garry to fight from positions he hates, the champion could once again demonstrate why his wrestling remains one of the biggest problems in the sport. But if Garry can stay long, defend the entries, scramble immediately, return to his feet, and force Islam to fight at range, the challenger could turn UFC 330 into the defining performance of his career. And perhaps that is the most interesting possibility of all. What if Garry does not need to completely stop Islam's wrestling? What if he only needs to survive it? What if every escape makes him more confident? What if every failed takedown makes Islam work harder? What if the champion begins to slow down? And what if Garry is still standing in the championship rounds, confident, fresh enough to move, and landing clean shots? That is the scenario Islam must prevent, and Garry must create, because ultimately, this fight is not simply about who has the better skill set. It is about whose game survives under pressure. Islam's legacy has been built on control, discipline, consistency, and relentless work. Garry's opportunity is built on distance, confidence, youth, size, movement, and the belief that he can solve a problem that very few fighters have been able to solve. The champion says there is nothing special about the challenger. The challenger says defeating the champion will prove that he is special. Those two statements cannot both survive the night. One will become part of the story. The other will become part of the lesson. And when the final bell rings, we will finally discover whether Ian Machado Garry was able to stop Islam Makhachev's wrestling and turn the fight into the battle he envisioned, or whether Islam once again found a way to drag an elite opponent into his world and break down every part of the game plan. Thank you for watching. Now, can Ian Machado Garry really stop Islam Makhachev's wrestling and win the fight on the feet? Or will Islam's pressure, takedowns, and championship experience ultimately be too much for him? Leave your prediction in the comments and let us know who you believe will have his hand raised when the cage door finally closes at UFC 330.